Hi, everybody. Today, I'm going to interview a former student of mine. I'm going to start with letting him introduce himself, who he is, what he's doing, where he is, and all that.
Sure, I can do that. Hi, everybody. My name is Zack Havens. I am a Sturgeon Heights grad, class of 2010, which is frightening to think about. Sorry if that makes you feel a little old. I am currently a software engineer specializing in security work at Google in New York City. I mean, here, there's my view. Not bad, hey? I've been living here for the past 3.5 years. I came here straight after graduating from the U of M with my degree in computer science, which I did in 2016. And I've been here working for Google since then.
And you took computer science with me, Zach.
Yes, I did.
Can I ask you a question? At the time when you took it with me, how serious were you about computer science back when you were in high school? Describe the high school you a little bit to me.
I mean, I was much more serious about computer science than I was about high school. That's for sure. I wasn't the best student, but I personally gravitated towards CS from a very young age. My father was a developer and project manager and worked in IT for a really long time, and he'd studied computer science to a certain extent himself. So I remember when I was young making websites and silly little games and stuff like that before I'd started taking CS with you at Sturgeon. So I knew it was something that I was really interested in and something I wanted to make a career out of. So when it came to taking CS at Sturgeon, I was quite motivated to do so. That was what I was there for to some extent. I, once again, wouldn't necessarily say I was the best at applying myself in some times, but I was always fascinated by it, and it was something that I was really motivated to continue studying, both with you and through my post-secondary career and beyond.
If you had to go back and talk to grade 11 Zach and say, what would you say to him?
Here's where I have to refrain from the profanity. What would I say to grade? I would say to grade 11 Zach that so I was, as I said, I was not the most dedicated student, and I think that the best advice that I could give to Zach is it's never too early to apply yourself. When I was lucky that I had background in computer science that some of my peers didn't in that time. But the time that I spent in that classroom was not necessarily spent as well as it could have been. I spent a lot more time goofing off when I could have been going out and exploring new concepts and ideas on my own. And I think if there's ever a point where you're not being challenged, it's up to you to challenge yourself. When I ended up, I took a year between high school and university. And when I did end up going, there was a significant learning curve for me because it required applying myself in a way that I didn't in high school. Now, I don't think I needed to I did not take full IB at Sturgeon. I took exactly one IB course that was computer science. But I'm not necessarily saying that I should have, studied significantly harder or pushed myself right to the edge or taken on more than I could chew or sacrificed some of my free time or anything like that. But I think I could have done a better job of recognizing the value of the time and expertise that was available to me and taking better advantage of it at the time.
Pulling off that question, Zach, I'm going to try to. One of the reasons why I wanted to make these videos was I know what it's like as a student in computer science when you have a programming problem in front of you, or especially in a time like this, where you just don't see the need to sit down and solve a problem. You really would like to jump ahead and do something more interesting. The concepts, or watching a video, or thinking about a concept can be challenging. You'd rather sort of jump to the end game rather than see the process. So,
Of course.
did you think that studying computer science, even at the high school level, and the content there was helpful? And then backing up on that, which pieces of it do you still find that you actually find could be still useful to you now?
I mean, yes, it was useful, and all of it. I mean, there becomes a point in one's career where it almost feels like it's too late to focus on fundamentals. But that doesn't make them any less necessary, right? At this point in my career, I have a lot of specialized knowledge for how to work in problems related to computer science, right? I specialize in security, and so there's a lot that goes along with that. But that being said, I still use the things that I learned in your classroom every single day. And it's come to the point, and I use them so frequently, that they are now second nature. And if I hadn't taken the opportunity that I had to learn these things in your classroom, a decade ago, then I would have had a much, much harder time building upon that to learn these more specialized techniques that I'm fascinated by, because I wouldn't have that base level of technical competency and ability to communicate about these things. Like even just talking to people about this would be harder.
Even the picky little things like indenting and commenting and stuff that at the time you as a high school student thought I was nuts for?
You would be so proud of me. When I review people's code, I am an absolute nightmare, and I am unapologetic for it. It's great. I would say, as somebody that works in a very large and relatively old code base, I curse other people for their failure in doing those things every day, and I try very hard to not be a hypocrite about it, because those things absolutely matter 110%. And I think that for a lot of people, I understand why when I was in your course, I complained about it, because it didn't feel necessary at that point in time, because I was one person working on a small project by myself. I could keep all of the state for everything I was working on in my head, which is all well and good. But anything beyond that, I mean, even before you start working for a living, if you decide to study this, at a post-secondary level, and you start working in groups, as soon as you involve one other person, it becomes significantly more important, and the need only grows exponentially from there. So yes, absolutely, things like proper naming of variables, cleanly structured code that's easy to follow, commenting anything that isn't immediately obvious, those only become more and more important as time goes on, not less and less.
Okay, I got a good question I think I just thought of. If we reverse time and reverse roles, and you were the teacher and I was your student, what would you have changed or done differently in teaching me computer science?
Well, what I would have done differently is a bit of a loaded question, because I'm not sure I would have had the patience. I might have just walked out of that classroom wholesale. In terms of things I might change, honestly, I don't think that there's much in the curriculum that you had for us that I would change. Like I mentioned before, I did do higher level IB. I did take advantage of that opportunity. So by the time I went to the U of M, I already had my first year computer science credits. They were done and locked. I didn't actually take computer science in my first year. I took all of my electives that year. And in my second year, I knew the material from at least 2 of the second year courses by the time I came out of your classroom. I don't think you could ask for much more than that. I think that in terms of teaching fundamentals, everything that you taught us came up in one of our courses as something that was instrumental for us. It was part of our foundational knowledge that we needed to have in order to continue studying more interesting things. I would say the only thing that I never was surprised by anything after that I learned. Like, it wasn't like I felt like, oh, there's this weird edge case in a specific data structure that I wasn't able to understand, some higher level data structure. Like, all of the fundamentals we had covered for all of that. I think the only thing that tripped me up might have been something that I think you teach now, which is collections of generics, which is a thing a decade ago wasn't nearly as popular in development anyways, but I don't think was part of the curriculum then, which is something you teach now, if I understand correctly.
We do.
Well, then there you go. Then no, I don't have anything I would change.
All right, Zach, we're going to get this wrapped up here in a second, but I got one last question. And by the way,
Okay.
other than your haircut, I do claim credit for a lot of your successes here right now and stuff like that.
Well, also this, hey, this is a quarantine haircut, okay? These are memories I'm growing right now.
What was the excuse back in September? Anyways, listen, Zach, I just want to end. If you have one good, funny story that you remember about high school in general, or me, or computer science, or any experience back in your days back at Sturgeon.
It's really hard to peel out.
It doesn't have to be funny.
Yeah, I mean, it's so hard for me to peel out a specific story because I really enjoyed my time at Sturgeon. I had a great time in high school. I mean, obviously ups and downs like anything else, but these years removed, my feelings of it are just a general positive look and like towards the whole thing. I mean, I remember, days spent in Jansen Roth's room playing board games at lunch. I remember, spending time screwing around in Yakimowski's electronics lab. I remember the times that we would, the rare and special moments that we would get to make games in computer science class instead of just playing them all day, right? It's hard to have ones that really stick out more than many others.
In a way, you don't, like for the kids today, especially the kids graduating, this is a tough year, right? And so
of course,
for them, their high school experience may not look back as positively as you. So do you have a "it gets better" message for them as well?
And it gets better. I mean, other than just saying it gets better, which feels a bit of a cop out. I would say for those students who are graduating this year, I totally understand that things are going to feel weird. The best advice I can give for them is, as soon as you get an opportunity to celebrate, take it, because you absolutely deserve it. And that shouldn't stop them from celebrating along the way, right? I realize it's not going to feel the same. So when you get a chance to go out and really celebrate your achievement, do that. It's worth celebrating. Beyond that,
sorry, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to say, beyond that, in general, for those that might be lucky enough to graduate the way that most people do, high school is it's a very demanding time in one's life in a way that sometimes isn't as appreciated as much. But I think when you get out in the world even broader than you're experiencing it now, you'll realize that it was a pretty amazing time in your life for one reason or another, right? If it was great and fun, you'll appreciate it for that. If you feel like you've had a harder time, you'll appreciate it for the lessons that it taught you and the way it prepared you for the future, whatever your future might end up being. I think that when you're in it, when you're neck deep in it, it's hard to get that perspective, but you will. And even if you do get to celebrate it in the more traditional way, I hope you do so, and are proud of the accomplishment of making it.
Well, that's a great way
You were
to
going to
end.
say.
That's a great way to end this video. Thank you, Zach. I'm going to end this video right now. Stay motivated, everybody.